Hello everyone and welcome to the most important guide to Dead by Daylight you have ever seen on the internet. Dead by Daylight is the asymmetrical horror game out there. Despite there being many other attempts of asymmetrical games, none have achieved quite the level of relevancy of Dead by Daylight. Which might be because Dead by Daylight has been slowly but surely turning into the Super Smash Bros. Of horror games. It even has come so far to spark its own spin-off and a story game that is coming out soon. So what even is an asymmetrical game? Unlike different PvP games, one team fights the other team with the same weapons, with the same power dynamic or similar perspective, Dead by Daylight is a 1v4 game, one killer against 4 survivors, meaning that it usually results in a power struggle between one strong player and multiple weaker players fighting against a strong one. And no, your Overwatch team flaming you alongside your enemy team making it feel like a 1v9 situation does not count. It's kinda like being awake in the middle of the night and using the microwave, trying to open it before it beeps to prevent your parents from waking up. You can decide to play either survivor or killer each match. As a survivor, it is your job to find and repair 5 generators scattered around the map. To make sure you don't get bored, you get skill checks at random intervals. This addition immediately curses the player with an itchy nose whenever they touch it.
Nothing.
Survivors have 3 health stages and can be hit twice by the killer before they enter the dying state. In the dying stage, survivors can be picked up by the killer where they usually end up being impaled like a kebab. Before the match starts, you can select 4 different perks, all of which have different effects, advantages as well as disadvantages. And sometimes your teammates might just troll you. The map also has pellets and windows which the survivors can use to evade the killer. They can either drop a pellet on the killer's head to stun them or vault through a window, abusing the slow killer's vault speed caused by their thick ass. The pellet can be dropped once, creating a sort of barrier only the survivor can vault over, and which can be permanently destroyed by the killer. Unless you decide to go against the meta and pick a perk that you don't get to use most of the time, because the killer will immediately break pellet as soon as they realize you have the perk. As a killer, your job is to chase survivors, put them into the dying state and hooking them onto a meat hook 3 times to kill them, which can be done in various ways. Some less ethnical than others. The killers are probably the biggest marketing factor for Dead by Daylight, as they have a wide variety of killers everyone knows, like the guy from Scary Movie, Thanos, a flashlight, and so many more. Each one of them have their own abilities, some more complicated than others. Each killer is usually released alongside corresponding survivors. You have to buy said killers and survivors, but for buying the game you get a base set of characters. These also have certain stereotypes around them. There's Dwight, the guy on your team that is either playing for the first time or has more hours in DBD than I do in League of Legends. Max are the one that walks up to the generator you are working on, fails a skill check and leaves. Claudettes haven't realized that self-care was nerfed into the grounds and disappear for about a minute every time they get injured just to heal themselves. Or you pick her because she's black and the environment is dark. No, people genuinely do that. Jakes and Bills are usually pretty chill, but you rarely see them. It's like getting a shiny in a Pokemon game. David was the character I started with and immediately dropped once Vittorio came out. Nias are the ones that can't help themselves and just loop the carrier and bully them, or die trying.
Not even the carrion eaters are interested in your radiated corpse.
Doing generators is a no-go for them. As for kill abilities, there are quite a few of them that need some explaining, since they have unique abilities unlike the survivors. And a friend of mine really wants me to make a video about Genshin Impact, so I'm going to set the mood for the future video about it. So we gamble, and whatever character comes out, I will explain. Wow, the least interesting out of all of them. Trapper is the day 1 killer of Dead by Daylight. And while we have hatchet swinging, harpoon shooting and tentacle slapping killers, Trapper is just kinda... However, it is hilarious to see people get trapped in them. Something about that scene just makes me... Also, he arguably has one of the best skins in the game. Discussions between killer mains and survivor mains often gets heated, and there are very often really intense feelings between the two. Or even between themselves whenever the post-game chat starts to resemble a League of Legends team chat. Be it survivors flashlight saving their teammates every time you pick someone up, or killers slugging the survivors, there are many toxic behaviors between the two. What is slugging, you ask? Good question. Because now that you understand the game, it is time for you to understand the strategies. Not in the mood to play the game, but somehow you find yourself in queue? Try gen rushing. It is the fastest and best build to annoy everyone around you, both teammates that want to play the game and killers that haven't even loaded in before you manage to finish the first generator. Or maybe you and your survivor friends all take the same character to make it impossible for the killer to differentiate you all. Or maybe you studied the game, know every possible counter and decide to bully the killer and abuse the weaknesses of his power. You are a desperate killer that really wants to win, but those pesky survivors keep helping each other. Camp the hooks? Pick Baba, who has an insta-down ability, and just stay at the hook. Watch them die and make it impossible for the remaining teammates to help them. This got so out of hand that behavior needed to nerf it. Adding a bar that fills up whenever you're near a hooked survivor, allowing them to unhook themselves whenever you are close to them for too long. No killers proxy camp. They stand right outside of set radius and wait. You can't win as a killer even with proxy camping? Try slugging. Remember this core gameplay feature that is called hooking? Yeah, just ignore that. Nothing stops you from just letting them painfully bleed out for 4 minutes instead of hooking them. Except, of course, well... You have heard a lot about different perks and you have seen some clips of them so far, but what even are perks and how do you get them? Each character, both killer and survivor, have 3 personal perks, and there are a couple of general perks everyone is able to unlock. By leveling up your character, you unlock said perks. After reaching level 50, you can prestige your character, which unlocks said perks for all of the other characters. Your first prestige unlocks the perks for the other characters. The next to increase the level of the unlocked perk for everyone in prestige 4 to 6, unlock new cosmetics for your character. It is the base skin, but red. Wait a minute, you might say, realizing that every character that has a license behind them costs real money, leading to the natural conclusion that the game surely must be pay to win. But don't worry, there are 4 random perks that change every week you can unlock for a currency you get by leveling up. It just takes you a really long time to unlock them all. Since you know the game, you are most likely wondering why anyone plays it, and the reasons are simpler than you might think at first. First of all, there's the obvious appeal of playing your favorite killer, being much stronger than the survivors and taking them down. There are many different killers to suit your playstyle, be it carefully setting up a web of traps or getting bullied by the survivors for playing Trapper, playing Nurse and ignoring all the game's rules just to get back at the survivors that bullied you, or you play Blight, the local crackhead that is probably as fast and schizophrenic as I am, 3 coffees and 1 energy drink deep into the script. So, with that information, how does it feel to play Dead by Daylight?
Me too.